Hi viewers, so let's start with today's analysis. I think a pretty mixed kind of a day for the Indian markets today, and we analyze in detail why it is so, and we'll also touch upon the global things, what is going on in the global market, which is actually affecting our markets. So I had told you on last Friday also there are two scenarios. One scenario wherein if the China and US tariff deal or negotiations get prolonged, then the global investors actually see India as the only alternative to invest, and there's a TINA factor which will come in, and because of the TINA factor you'll see a lot of money gushing into the Indian markets. This is what exactly happened yesterday also. The TINA factor actually worked very well because nothing happened in the weekend between US and China, and that is why you saw those money start gushing into the Indian markets. The problem with Indian markets is the valuations, as we already discussed number of times. The results which are coming into the markets are not very exciting, and I think overall we'll land up just by around 9 to 10% kind of a earnings growth for this FY26. That is what the expectations are. For FY25, now with the last quarter earnings coming in, I think we'll be only seeing around just 2% earning upgrade from FY24. So that will be a major deterrent that will pull down on the EPS of the entire Nifty down and the entire company is down. And if we are seeing some 10 to 12% growth for FY26 and similar for FY27, then accordingly we'll have the levels in place and accordingly we have to play. So the problem for FIIs and the problem with the money flowing in is that there is lack of ideas, there are lack of sectors, there are lack of companies where the money can actually flow in. That is the biggest problem. So I discussed this thing on last Friday also. FMCG results are actually pathetic. They are going nowhere. And this has been the story from last around 16 quarters or so. The same problem we are seeing now in the IT companies. Their guidance we are seeing cut. The profits are falling YOY basis and nothing is moving on. The only silver lining was the banks, especially the private sector banks, which have given good, decent growth in terms of profit growth. And that is what is pulling the overall Nifty earnings forward. But the credit growth, as we saw from ICICI Bank, which was a 16-quarter low, it was around 13%. HDFC Bank also is going through a transition, and we saw the profit growth of only 6% YY basis. Yes, ICICI Bank gave us splendid numbers, and we had the profit growth of around 18% YY. But the Nifty Bank, or let's say the banking index, or the banks put together, are one sector which is pulling the earnings forward. Apart from that, none of the companies are giving good earnings. We are now waiting for, so we have now got one or two companies from cement sector which have given the results, one company from auto sector, one or two companies actually from auto sector which has given the results. We'll discuss those two also, and we'll try to see how Nifty Auto is looking to us and how exactly cement is also looking to us. So cement, I think we have the numbers from Ambuja Cement, we have numbers from ACC, we have numbers from Ultratech Cement. So ACC gave, or ACC and Dano Bharat have given good set of numbers. I think the numbers from Ultratech was blended. We saw a YY profit growth also. We saw volume growth also, and also we saw the cost. Let's say the profit per ton also going up. So Ultratech Cement, yes, there was a good set of earnings, but don't forget the stock price is also at 52-week high. So a lot of things are priced in, and the results were not so exciting that you can take the price to a very higher level. So I think cement companies का जो level इस वक्त है prices का वो optimum है, fairly priced है, इनफैक्ट थोड़ा सा ऊपर है वहां से, बिकॉज जो हम प्रॉफिट ग्रोथ देख रहे हैं फॉर द एंटायर ईयर, दैट कैन ओनली ब्रिंग यू द चेंज इन प्राइसेस नाउ. जिस लेवल पे प्राइसेस अभी हैं वो बिल्कुल ऑप्टिमम है. यहां से अगर स्टॉक प्राइसेस ज्यादा बढ़ते हैं तो इट एक्चुअली बिकम्स अ सेल कैंडिडेट बिकॉज इट विल एक्चुअली ओवरशूट द वैल्यूएशन पार्ट फंडामेंटली. सो सीमेंट कंपनीज के रिजल्ट, अंबुजा सीमेंट के रिजल्ट उतने अच्छे नहीं थे. देयर वर मिक्स सेट ऑफ नंबर्स, बट आदमी भारत गिवन गुड सेट ऑफ नंबर्स एंड सो हैज अल्ट्राटेक. सो वी कैन से सीमेंट के नंबर्स फिर भी डिसेंट है, but they have very lower weight in the Nifty. Moreover, they are lower weight in the overall earnings also, and the numbers have not been splendid. They are okay, which can we can just say that yes, some kind of profit growth or the volume growth we have seen in the cement companies. That is why cement companies were running from last 1 month or so, and probably now the prices are just optimal. So this is about cement. We have got two or three company results from Nifty Auto. So for example, Maruti has given their set of results yesterday, I think during the market hours. Not a good set of numbers. Domestically, they are given a volume degrowth. Only export is looking good, where they have shown a growth of around 20%. But the commentary from management was even weak. They have told that they are not expecting a bigger growth from the domestic market, and I think they're looking for around just 1 to 2% growth for the entire year. They are seeing a demand slowdown, and the the difficult part which the entire commentary was that even with the tax cuts, we people are expecting that there will be some kind of rise in the demand for the smaller cars. That also the management was not confident and told no, they don't expect any meaningful increase in the volume growth for Maruti because of the tax cuts. So Maruti, which is one of the biggest market share into the passenger vehicle segment, if that is giving this kind of commentary, then again you have to be cautious. We got the numbers from TVS Motor. Numbers were good, 14% YOY profit growth. Even demand was good. So in that way, two-wheeler segment pretty good set of numbers for TVS Motor as such. But for the industry, the passenger vehicle growth again is looking very muted for this year also, and the economists are not seeing more than 5% of volume growth or demand growth in the overall auto segment. We will wait and see for the other auto companies, and I'm pretty sure TVS Motors have actually beaten the Bajaj Autos and the other two-wheeler segments, Hero MotoCorp, from a lot of quarters now. TVS growth has been showing some kind of supremacy over these companies. So if TVS Motors guidance is pretty muted, they are also not confident of the volume growth or demand growth for this fiscal year for passenger two vehicles, then I think we'll not see some kind of growth from Bajaj Auto and Hero MotoCorp also. So overall, Nifty Auto is also looking pretty muted from here on. We know there are problems from auto tariffs which will start playing in from this quarter onwards or next quarter onwards. Let's say Mr. Trump has given 90 days relief, but let's say when the deadline ends at around 7th of July or 8th of July, you'll start seeing those kind of things also coming in. So Nifty Auto is also looking very optimal. Nifty IT is looking optimal. FMCG has its own set of problems. Nifty Bank is looking good, but it has already run a lot. It's again it's almost at its all-time high. Today again we saw a splendid rally by that 1.25 lakh crore of OMO purchase decision was RBI has given. RBI is doing a fantastic job, guys. There is no doubt at all the way RBI is actually managing the liquidity and the way they have actually put the escalator on to exactly stimulate the economy of India. I think it's a phenomenal job in this kind of uncertain systems where people might be afraid of inflation. I think the work done by Mr. Sanjay Malhotra, I think, has been fantastic. It is just 2 or 3 months where he has taken the chair, but he has actually triggered, he has pulled the, actually he's moving in fifth gear. And I've not seen such kind of people on this chair a lot. I think that he's taken a very bold move and he's taking things on their stride and things are moving forward. But so you see the valuation point of view, we are already stretched. It is looking like that we are already reached to the levels which we should have been reached for this year, right? So overall for this year, we are seeing around Nifty in terms of fundamentals. See, market prices can overstretch in either directions a lot. That we cannot comment. Fundamental point of view, Nifty का जो range बनता है, seeing the earnings of this quarter and the kind of commentary that we're getting and the kind of revenue growth and the margin growth we're seeing, right? We are seeing Nifty in the range of 24,800 to 25,500, that kind of a range on a upside, right? So if everything remains good, everything remains ideological, then the overall target for Nifty for the entire year, like say for March 2026, FY26, comes out to be around 24,800 to let's say 25,200, 24,300 odd, those kind of levels. We're already at around 24,400. Again, we touched today, and that is why the market is not getting those kind of confidence to take the market forward. Even when there is a lot of money chasing, people actually want the Indian markets to go up, but there are lack of ideas. So wherever the market is finding ideas, market is very rational. Market is not trying to take extra strides in the area of sectors where they're seeing difficulties. But जहां पे भी उनको एक leverage मिल रहा है, जहां भी they are seeing some kind of optimism, they're latching onto it. For example, Reliance. The market was expecting a 5% profit downgrade in terms of YOY growth, but the company gave a surprise and we got the results of around 2% YOY actually profit growth and some kind of splendid numbers as far as Reliance Retail is concerned and Reliance Jio is concerned. Yes, in the hydrocarbon segment, O2C segment, there was a margin pressure. They're seeing the demand pressure also going forward. But the company has told that H2 can be better than H1. This is what the company has told. So Reliance overall, since you got that trigger, and we saw where the Reliance is now. So you can see from the lows of around 1100, we are already 1410. Today's the high was 1410. So market has actually again rewarded Reliance for its numbers, and so है the Nifty Bank. So जहां भी numbers अच्छे आ रहे हैं, जहां भी कमेंट्री ठीक है, सेक्टर में ऑप्टिज्म है, वहां मार्केट लैच ऑन कर रहा है, मनी उसको चेस कर रहा है. बट जहां भी नंबर्स में कंफर्ट नहीं है, वहां मार्केट चेस नहीं कर रहा है. सो इवन व्हेन द मार्केट वांट टू ग्रो, even when there are FIs putting a lot of money, but there are lack of ideas and there are lack of valuations and the profit growth and earnings growth which are actually putting India stock market down. अगर यहाँ पे आपको earnings growth होता, तो market would have been latched onto it and we would have seen another high on the markets. Problem है valuations. So if you lot of people are saying that valuation जो है वो 10-year average पे है, but the problem is कि earnings भी 10-year average पे है. There is no mismatch. अल्टीमेटली मार्केट बायबल कब बनता है? जब कोई मिसमैच हो, वैल्यूएशंस आपके डाउन हो, आपकी अर्निंग्स ट्रैजेक्टरी ऊपर हो, तो एक वैल्यू बाय बनता है. अब कैसे बनेगा? अगर अर्निंग्स आपके 10 ईयर एवरेज पे हैं और आपका निफ्टी का वैल्यूएशन भी 10 ईयर एवरेज पे है, तो इट्स वेरी डिफिकल्ट फॉर निफ्टी टू ग्रो फ्रॉम हियर. यस, यू कैन इंक्रीज द पी मल्टीपल, राइट, बट इफ यू सी सम काइंड ऑफ साइंस फॉर ग्रेटर प्रॉफिट ग्रोथ गोइंग अहेड, वो नजर नहीं आ रहा है. सो द मार्केट इज नर्वस even when the markets want to grow, because the problem is FIs does not have any place to hide now. US and China are facing problems because उनका वो standoff चल रहा है, and if the standoff continues, those kind of ego things continues, then I think it is difficult to deploy money in China and US. This again together combined is around 50% of the stock market of the entire world. Europe market will again face a problem because US is not even starting a deal with Europe. They are actually furious. Mr. Trump is actually furious on Europe and China put together. They are not, pushing Europe so hard because of the ties, because of the political scenario, because of the long relationship they had with Europe. But ultimately, Mr. Trump is extremely angry on Europe also, the way they feel they've been cheated on the tariffs point of view. So ultimately, Europe में पैसा नहीं जाएगा. Japan तो anyway is going to slow down. Their GDP growth is nowhere. China is getting problematic because of the tariff war, etc. All those things. So अब India में how much money you can deploy? The problem is the lack of idea, the lack of and again the earnings are not so much. तो FIAs अगर चाहते भी हैं इस मार्केट को बनाना, they're facing the pinch because of the valuations. So don't forget, even DIAs are selling at the higher levels. ठीक है, yesterday we saw some buying from DIAs because the market was actually down on Friday. We got that cut and that is why they lashed on. FIs and DIs lashed on that dip, and the dip was bought. So if we will be getting dips in the market, it will be getting buy very soon, because FIs also want to buy and DIs also want to buy, but at the upper levels nobody want to buy. That is the problem. So DIs को तो दिखता है कि market irrationally ऊपर जा रहा है, they come for selling. FIs are not very excited about buying at the top levels because of the valuations. So that is the problem which the Indian markets are facing. So considering all this, yes, we can still go to 24,800 because of the liquidity and TINA factor and the way FIs want to have some kind of hiding place, etc., etc. But some kind of relief we should get from the overall global market. See, India-Pakistan issue is also not helping them to take some additional risk. You never know what can happen. Although market believes nothing much will going to happen, but still, until the event is over, markets generally tends to remain nervous, and we all expect some kind of action will be taken. But I just take you to what happened during the Pulwama attack. So if you see the screen, and if you see in 2019, so the Pulwama happened in February 2019. It was exactly 14th February 2019 when I think that unfortunate incident happened. So if you see in February, we were only cut by around 0.36%. And next month, if you see, we are up by 7.7%. Next month, again, we are up by 1.07%, then again 1.49%. So Pulwama attack, nothing happened to the stock markets. There might be some major reaction. This is overall for the month. And I've seen those dates and the way the Nifty has behaved on those particular dates also. 14 to 19, yes, there have been some cuts, but there were minor cuts. And you can see overall how the month has gone. It's hardly anything. In fact, we've gone positive. Even if you go back and see the Kargil war, Nothing happened that time also. That was the biggest war. So I'm trying to give you two scenarios. One is we have a small dedicated attack on Pakistan as we've done for Uri and after Balakot. These are the two instances which has been surgical strike kind of a thing. There the markets have not fallen. In fact, we have actually grown. So nothing has happened. In fact, if you have gone for a bigger war also, which is the Kargil war, that time also the markets have been up. So the Nifty was up by around 25% during the war period of. So let's say Kargil started somewhere in 3rd of May and went on to July of 1999. So even with this 3 or 4 months, actually the markets were up by around 25, 30, 26%. Unimaginable. Even when the world markets were only up by 2%. So the war actually increased the market sentiments and the markets actually went up. इसलिए होता है because government tries to during the war they try to print a lot of money, they do a lot of quantitative easing and they actually make your economy much more stimulus oriented. इसीलिए wars के अंदर generally markets बढ़ जाते हैं. You can go back and track Israel and Israel stock markets also. You can see how the market performed during the war. You'll see a similar pattern. 1 or 2 months they'll be down, but otherwise they'll be actually higher than the previous day. So these are typical ways you can just see. And don't forget, every time you are seeing the biggest depression in economy and you've seen a war, you actually come out of the economic crisis. Even if you see the Great Depression 1930s, you saw the Second World War coming, and then the economy started rising for the entire world. ये generally होता है. This is the trend. War brings in a lot of printing of money, a lot of stimulus, and actually the economy thrives from there on. It does not go down. So इसलिए इंडिया पाकिस्तान का एक nervousness factor रहेगा. Market will always remain nervous until the event is over. But don't forget, on an overall point of view, this is not a factor which will affect you. ये आपके market को affect नहीं करेगा, right? So be careful, be mindful of those things. The problem with India is not tariff now. It is not dollar index, crude or bond yield or anything. Nothing. It is just the valuations, the earnings which are not supporting the markets. अगर earnings ही नहीं है तो market कैसे बढ़ेगा आगे? You can't even give a higher P multiple also because EPS growth is not there. So until unless you see that growth coming to the companies, तब तक आपका ये Nifty जो है it cannot go ahead. And Nifty, why I mean is overall market broad sentiment also, broader market also cannot go up too much. There is restriction because it will not be supported by earnings. अगर वो जाता है then become sell candidate. Then I would say advise you to sell actually. So that is not the problem. But if some kind of things happen between China and US and you get some more clarity, then again market will try to latch on, and at least the Nifty IT will start contributing, and Nifty metals will contribute, which can take the market 24,800. So that is what the broad range has always been of my analysis. The 24,800 the market जा सकता है in this swing, but book profits and sit on the sideline because three things which will affect our markets: tariff uncertainty, because it is just a 90 days pause. Don't forget, guys, the tariff has not been solved. It is just a 90 days pause, right? The second problem is the valuations, which is not supporting the markets. तो अगर valuation support नहीं कर रहे हैं, earning support नहीं कर रही, तो how come the markets go up? That is second point of problem. And third is of course India Pakistan जब तक वो नहीं होता है तब तक markets nervous ही रहेंगे because you don't know how the governments will behave, how the war can escalate, what can things happen. Market उसको event को लेकर nervous ही रहता है. Market will be happier to put their money in FDs or bonds or बोलिए say US bonds anywhere, but they will not take the risk of losing money. What Warren Buffett is told. Rule number 1 is never lose your money, and rule number 2 is never forget your rule number 1. That is what Warren Buffett says. So if that is and he himself is sitting on around 22 lakh crore of cash. And don't forget, if I give you the numbers, you'll be surprised. Now, Mr. Warren Buffett holds 5% of the entire treasury bills of US. In fact, his treasury bills amount is now greater than of Fed himself. That is the kind of amount of bonds this man has bought and is sitting on almost cash. Bond is just like cash only. So when a person like Warren Buffett is not trying to play some kind of games in the stock market, why should we play some games? Yes, as I told you, I'm ready to lose those last 400 points. क्या होगा, मार्केट 24 चला जाएगा, जाने दीजिए. What is the issue? Why should I run behind those 400 points? let me wait for a correction because of three things which I have told on some kind of global uncertainty, and then we'll have more opportunity to earn money because we'll be sitting on cash. So this is what my scenario, this is what my analysis is. I may be wrong, but this is what, after studying everything, this is what I suggest. प्रॉब्लम ये है कि अमेरिका और चाइना भी अपने आप को सॉल्व करना नहीं चाह रहे. सो चाइना अनाउंस्ड इन दिस वीकेंड दैट we are reducing some tariffs on American some imported goods because they're affecting their companies a lot, semiconductors, some kind of chips, etc. All those things. पहले वो relief US ने भी दिया था, but the problem is now in last week 2 crore workers of Chinese factory have been denied to enter into the premises. They've been told not to come for job. 2 crores, and it is just what 10-15 days after the tariff war started, maybe 20 days. आप 20 दिन में ये हालत है. Imagine if it goes on for 3 months, 6 months, 1 year, what will happen? So people are not imagining the kind of problem this can bring to the whole world growth as such. And then it has again associated problems, currency war, currency devaluations, etc., which I am not even speaking as of now because वो बहुत early है बोलना. I have my analysis in place, but I don't think this is the right time to start the analysis because अभी वो trigger नहीं हुआ है. कुछ हद तक हुआ है, but not to the entire extent. So we'll see. We'll cross the bridge when we reach that point. अभी उस point पे नहीं पहुंचे हैं, so we should not discuss about things. I am trying to discuss about the things which are currently going on and some kind of future. That's all. तो इस सारे कॉन्टेक्स्ट को देखते हुए मेरा एनालिसिस इतना ही है. That is why I'm saying that I'll be happy to sit on cash as of now. I am not in a hurry at all to buy the stocks going forward. Yes, 23,800 has become a very good support now. उसको तोड़ना इतना आसान नहीं हुआ मार्केट्स के लिए, especially when the FIs are into a buying spree. But it will be difficult to cross 24,800 also. So ये 1,000 points की range है. Let's see how it goes. But I think the next growth should come from Nifty IT, Nifty Metals, Nifty Pharma. FMCG से कोई होप नहीं है. I'm just become very hopeless from Nifty FMCG. तो मैं उसको बिल्कुल अभी किनारे रख दे रहा हूँ. But because Nifty Metals and Nifty IT have just gone affected because of this tariff war and global uncertainty, all those things, if those things try to solve, we can expect some kind of growth from here, which can take Nifty around 300-400 points even higher from here on. But अगर निफ्टी ऑटो की बात करें, अगेन द प्रॉब्लम इज अ डोमेस्टिक फैक्टर. डोमेस्टिकली डिमांड नहीं है, तो डिमांड नहीं है तो कंपनी के प्रॉफिट्स कहां से आएंगे? प्रॉफिट में ग्रोथ नहीं है तो निफ्टी ग्रोथ क्यों होनी चाहिए? सो दोस काइंड ऑफ थिंग्स कैन बिकम अ प्रॉब्लम. सो yes, we are expecting 10-12% kind of profit growth. उतना आपको निफ्टी में मिल जाएगा. That kind of nifty upturn you will get into the markets. The market can take on to those kind of things. I have already told you that Nifty का जो EPS FY26 के लिए expected है, that is around 1170 or 70-80. You can give your P multiple. If you give a 20 P multiple, you reach to around 22,400 final kind of levels. If you gun 21 का P multiple देते हैं, you get your number. 22 का P multiple, which is on the higher side. So this kind of lower growth, you cannot give 22 P multiple. Actually, 20 का P multiple for 1 year forward earning is good enough. That itself is slightly on the higher side. तो उसको देखते हैं तो हम यहीं कहीं पहुंचते हैं. So that is why I'm saying we're not very excited in terms of Nifty going forward in terms of valuation itself. आप भूल जाइए इंडिया पाकिस्तान को, भूल जाइए टैरिफ वॉर को. See, टैरिफ वॉर को इंडिया ने डाइजेस्ट कर लिया. इंडिया हैज नेवर रिस्पॉन्डेड टू टैरिफ एक्चुअली. We're the first country to actually cover all our losses due to tariffs. तो टैरिफ तो हमें इम्पैक्ट ही नहीं कर रहा. इंडिया पाकिस्तान को भी अभी तक हमने शट ऑफ किया हुआ है, राइट? तो डोंट फॉरगेट दैट दिस प्राइस हैज ऑलरेडी डाइजेस्टेड इंडिया पाकिस्तान एंड ऑलरेडी डाइजेस्टेड ऑल द टैरिफ थिंग्स. अगर उससे खराब हुआ तो इंडिया को इम्पैक्ट करेगा, यहाँ से फायदा नहीं होगा. This is what I feel. So this is what the analysis for today. I hope you would have liked it. Thank you so much for watching. Thanks so much.